Hello, my name is Frances, and today I'm going to teach you how to prepare a fishing pole for fishing. Before we get started, I'd love if you could just observe a fishing pole. Take a look at what you see. At this point, you can pause the video to look at all the different parts, or you can rewind as many times as you would like to make sure you can really observe. While you are observing, you may have noticed three important parts of our fishing pole. The first part is this metal spinning reel. Do you see that there? You also may have noticed this really long shaft-like area. It's quite bendy and flexible. This is called the fishing rod. The last part, the third main part, is this clear, almost yarn-like material. This is called the fishing line. To prepare our fishing pole for fishing, we need to have our line here attached to a hook. And we're going to use something called a fisherman's knot to attach it. Now, before you attach the hook, you want to make sure you have enough slack in your line. As you can see here, I have a lot of extra line on the table here. So you have enough flexibility with the line, so you're not battling against the rod when you're tying the knot. To give yourself some extra slack within your line, what you're going to do is you're going to go to your reel here, and you're going to flip over this metal kind of clasp, which is called a bail. So you're going to flip that over, and that's going to allow you to pull out as much line as you need. We are going to use the fisherman's knot to attach our hook to our line. Now, I'm holding on to what is called the tag end of the line. Now you're going to put the tag end of the line through the eye of the hook. And the eye is this little circle at the top of the hook. So you'll feed the tag end through that hole, like that, and pull it through a little bit. Okay, and make sure you pull it through enough so you have enough line to hold on to. Then you're going to place your finger right on top of the eye. Okay, hold on to it just like that. So you're going to put your finger again through that the kind of the U shape that you made with the fishing line, and press it onto the eye of the hook. All right, the next step is to wrap this tag end of the line around the main line that is attached to your reel. So you will wrap it around 7 times. Okay, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. When you have it wrapped around 7 times, your line should look a little something like this. You have a lot of little ringlets wrapped around that main piece of line. You still have a little bit left of that tag end of the line. And what you're going to do with that tag end is you are going to place it through the hole that you made by placing your finger on the eye of the hook. So it should be a nice big hole now. And again, you're going to put it through that hole, the tag end of the line through the hole. And then you're going to pull. And that should tighten up all of those swirls that you did. Those 7 different times you wrapped around, all of those little ringlets should tighten onto the eye of the hook. And then you might be wondering, well, now we have this tag end sticking out, right? So what you can do is you can grab a scissors and you can cut that little tag end right off. And then you're all set. At this point in the video, you should have a hook attached to your line. Now, our next step is to place something called a bobber onto our line as well. Now, a bobber serves as almost a signal to let us know when a fish has bit onto our hook. Now it's called a bobber because what it'll do in the water is actually bob up and down. And once the bobber is underneath the water, that's when you know you've got a fish on your hook. A bobber has two little hooks on both ends of it. Now you can find them by pushing down on this little, almost button-like area. So you'll push that down, and at the bottom, you'll see a hook pop out. And when I release the button on top, the hook goes back in. Same thing with the top. When I push down, a hook pops out. Do you see that there? Great, and when I release it, the hook is hidden. Now that hook on both ends are going to attach to our fishing line. Now you want to attach the bobber to the fishing line about 2 to 5 feet from where your hook is, and that is determined by how deep the water is wherever you choose to fish. So I'm going to go about 2 feet from my hook because the river I'm going to is pretty shallow. So I am going to push down on the button like I said so I can see the hook at the bottom. And then I'm going to place my line around the hook. And once it's in there, I'll let go of the button and it's going to grab a hold of the line and almost suck it up into the bobber. Then you can bring the line to the top and repeat the same thing. You will push down the button, the hook will come out, you will wrap the line around the hook like that, release it, and it's officially attached to your line. Depending on how heavy the bait is that you put onto your hook, you may want to use something called a split shot. And a split shot is a lead weight. It looks just like this. Now the split shot will be placed about 8 inches above wherever your hook is. So this is about 8 inches here. So what I would do is I'd have the weight onto the line there. And I'll discuss how to put that on soon. Now the importance of having a split shot on your line is to, again, make your line and your bait heavy enough so it can sink down further into the water and hopefully closer to wherever the fish may be. To open up this gap on the other side of the split shot is to use something called a pliers. This is the pliers here. And what you would do is you would put the pliers around those wings and just gently squeeze it, and that's going to slightly open up the gap on the other end. Okay? Great, so now it's wide enough for our line to fit through the mouth of that split shot weight. So you go ahead and grab your line and place it just inside that gap so it fits through both ends, just like that. And then you're going to use that pliers once more, and you will gently pinch the front of the weight together just to fit the 2 ends of the weight around your line. You don't want to put it too tight, but just snug enough so the line is pinched together. Like that. And then your weight is nice and attached to your line. Awesome! Our fishing rods are ready to go. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to head to the river to do some fishing. Before we head to the river, we need to make sure that our fishing pole is nice and secure. So what you're going to do is you are going to reel up whatever slack you have left in the line. As you can see here, I have quite a bit of slack that I don't need for this next step. So you'll reel in with the reel there. Your slack will go up. And then you're going to do something with your hook. Now here I have my hook, and at the base of the rod I have something called a hook keeper. So you will put the end of your hook into that hook keeper just like that, and then it'll dangle there perfectly fine doing that, and then you'll reel up the rest of the slack that you see in your line. There it goes, and then it is ready to travel. When you go fishing, you need to use some bait, and there's two choices of what bait you can choose from. So you can either choose fake artificial bait or a live bait. Today we're going to focus on using live bait. Now there's many different choices of different live baits that you could use, but we're going to focus on a small little fish called a minnow. And a minnow looks a little something like this. Do you remember the fishing line, that clear, almost yarn-like material? Well, that's attached to something called the hook. And the hook is very important because that will hold onto our bait. Now, it's really important for you to attach the hook through your bait very securely so your bait doesn't flop off because you want to catch a fish today, right? So, I'll show you how to properly attach a minnow to your hook. So come on close. All right, so we're going to attach our hook this way. Now, it takes a little bit of practice, but you're going to slide it right through there, and then your bait will stay nice and secure. Now, let's learn how to cast, right? We have lots of different setups here. Now, this is a spinning reel. So what you're going to do is you use your pointer finger and you're going to grab a hold of your fishing line and pull it back towards your fishing rod. Then you're going to flip over this metal clasp as part of that reel. And once you do this, this allows your fishing line to be free. It's allowed to flow wherever you want it to. So be sure to hold on to it really tight with your finger. At this point, you're going to bring your fishing rod behind your head like this. But be careful, you want to watch where your hook is hanging so it doesn't hit anyone. Then, once you're ready, you're going to bring your hands forward kind of fast so your fishing line and hook will fly ahead of you. Again, watch where you're throwing it. So you're going to bring your hands forward, and at that point you're going to release your pointer finger from the fishing line so your fishing line and your bobber and your bait can all go out into the water. I'll show you first, then you can try. Once your bobber's in the water, you're going to bring this clasp back over, and you're going to reel it in just a little bit so that your fishing line is nice and tight. And then it's set. Do you feel more comfortable with using a fishing pole and the other tools that go along with fishing? Hopefully you do, and hopefully you're extremely excited to go out and use your new skills. Now, fishing is a lifelong skill and a sport that people can do forever. And so, there's millions of other different kinds of poles, fishing, equipment, and bait, and other places to even go fishing. And so, hopefully, this introductory video sparked your interest. I hope to see you out on the water someday, and I hope you catch a big one.